Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff, Mosher, Adam, Caplan. Hope everybody's enjoying their Memorial Day holiday. We are talking Eagles, and we've been talking about doing this kind of podcast for a little bit now that there's not as much breaking news. We are going to take a look at the Eagles as well as other NFC East opponents in this podcast, and we're going to go over what the expectations are for them from a win-loss standpoint, using over-under win totals, go back through the schedule, talk about each team's odds of winning the Super Bowl, and then Adam and I will sort of dissect it in what we think compared to what the odds makers may say. So this will be a fun episode. And listen, part of this fun is always kind of looking back. I don't remember what the Commanders' odds were last year of making the Super Bowl.
6.5. Real quick.
What? Oh, you look.
6.5.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
nobody got it.
Yeah, and listen, they didn't make it, but they were in the NFC Championship game, so that just shows you how close you can be to. If I like to I used to do this back in the day when gambling first started, Adam. I don't do it as much anymore. I always tried to find like one team from the NFC and one team from the AFC that I thought, if everything went right, could make the Super Bowl that nobody expected. If you lay $20 down on something that's like plus 2,000, right? You make a good amount of money, right? And if you don't, who cares? You're just playing for $20. Yeah. That year that Rex Grossman took the Bears to the Super Bowl, I think there was a big deal for people who made like Bears bets to win the NFC that year. Yeah,
Rex Grossman. Grossman
is a Super Bowl quarterback, not a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but he's a Super Bowl quarterback.
Was that? That was against the Colts. Was it?
Yes. In the game, I believe was in Miami, and it rained in that game.
It rained, right? And I was in the auxiliary press box, which means it's in the stands high up. Mm-hmm. The game was awful, and I just wound up leaving. I was like, I can't deal with this. I didn't have to file a story. I'm like, I'm here. I'm watching it, but it wasn't a heavy rain, but it rained enough, and it was annoying. I'm like, it's crazy,
Right.
So it goes to show you, if you get hot. I mean, obviously they had a very good defense. You never know. Rex Grossman. Wow. Was he drafted first round by the Bears?
I don't even think he was a first round pick, Adam. I can go back and he wasn't drafted by the Bears. I think you're right about that. But I don't think it was a first round anyway. Maybe he was.
I think he was.
He was not a very good quarterback.
He was first round pick.
Wow,
for the Bears in 2003, 22nd pick overall, and that because of Spurrier.
Right. Oh, that's right. Of course. Yeah, he did wind up playing, 6 seasons with the Bears, and then he went on to Washington for 2, and then Houston. I forgot. Houston, then Washington for 2. So I forgot about that year that he was with the Texans.
Yeah, I didn't remember that. Yeah.
I'm sure they have as well. But that goes to the point, though. There's. Let me ask you this before we get into this, because it's a fun subject. If I were to give you free money and say lay it down on 2 teams with the hugest odds to be in the Super Bowl, but not just you don't just take the worst team. You really think that if things could go right, who would give me one team from the NFC and one from the AFC?
All right. Well, we'll get into later in the week. We'll do the divisional odds, and maybe if we have time, we'll do the not only divisional odds, but we'll get into over/under totals for some of these teams. But the odds makers are still on the NFC West on the Niners. Like every book that I looked at, half a dozen of them still has the Niners as a favorite, but not by a lot to win the NFC West. But as you said, there's going to be a team nobody's talking about that either makes it or makes a run. Like Washington was one last year. Denver, the books only gave them 5.5 wins.
Right.
They made the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. So that's what the league, the odds makers can't know is how good these rookies are going to be. Like, who would bet on a rookie to make a playoff run? You just don't. It's hard to say that. It's hard to back that guy.
Right. I think the Bears, ironically enough, by the way, would be that kind of team because of talent and coaching now. But I mean, we'll see.
they're going to be a hype team for sure. Because of the offensive talent, they are so loaded on offense. Pass rush for them. Caleb Williams, he was more down than up, but as you mentioned with the coaching change, maybe he's good. It's more to me who could win the division that no one's talking about. Seattle's my team that no one is talking about. Clint Kubiak did a good job last year. They just Derek Carr went south. He got hurt. the Eagles kind of crushed their hopes when Fangio put in when he dropped Bond in the box as a fifth defender. They weren't ready for it because he hadn't done that yet. But and look, they have Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's another guy. Who the hell knew Sam Darnold last season? That was a great story, you know?
Yeah. No, I can see that. I think the head coach is a good coach and knows what he's doing. He's still in the process of getting guys out and then getting guys in that more fit what he does. But that's a tough division. But hey, if they could win it or make the playoffs, no, that's a good. You're right that nobody's talking about them. The Bears are the team that people are kind of talking about for obvious reasons. But Seattle would be a good one too.
Yep.
All right, cool. So listen, before we get started, I want to remind everybody we had an awesome mailbag with Sam Finkel and Inside the Data, first ever mailbag that ran last week. Got a lot of great feedback. People have been submitting their questions for Sam, and please continue to do so because we'll have another mailbag on Tuesday. We had enough questions to do one with Sam, so that'll come out Tuesday. And please continue to submit your mailbag questions for him at insidethebirds@gmail.com. And I know Andrew DeCecco has been doing mailbags for his DeCecco Daily podcast as well. So we all have one umbrella email address. So I just ask people, if you send a question in, please direct it to either Sam or Andrew or Geoff and Adam, just so we know who you're specifically asking. Or if you're asking the same question to all of us, that's fine too. Just say for anybody to answer. And also we ask with Sam, please keep it to data and analytics. I know we had some people ask him like who he thinks is the best tight end in football. Well, that's not really, the point of Inside the Data. It's to really get into the numbers and try to give you guys, listeners, readers, viewers, things that you can't just get at, the neighborhood bar. That's the whole point
right.
of Inside
if you want Geoff and I to answer questions, you got to be a Patreon member. Just to be clear, that's where we answer questions. Yes. We do that every Wednesday night, which we will this Wednesday night. In fact, we do it all year. We have a live stream every week, all year, at least one. You never know who we have showing up. John D. Flippo showed up. Flip's done some live streams with us, but that'll be this Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, patreon.com/InsideTheBirds.
There we go. All right, so let's get into the Philadelphia Eagles first. All right, we'll go through their over-under win totals. And Adam, just for the sake of transparency or clarity here, we're using whose lines?
This is MGM. This is from MGM.
Okay.
I like. I looked at 6 books. This is the easiest, and I've used them for a couple of years just for whatever I'm involved with. Like on Sports Grid, we use them. The other books are fine, but I like this one, so we'll use them for now.
All right. So when we start with the Eagles, their over/under win total is at 11.5. I believe that's higher than even last year's. Adam, wasn't last year's either 10 or 10.5?
I think it was 10.5.
I thought so too.
Well, it might have ended this. It might have like, for instance, like last year, my big one my favorite one was after the draft and after the schedule came out, the Steelers were 7.5. I thought Tomlin's never had a losing record. No, he hasn't won a playoff game since 2017, but that wasn't the point. The point was he didn't have a losing record. I thought that was kind of a lock. It was. It covered easily. Now, it did move. Now, again, if you wait, and this is the disclaimer, if you like a team and you think that the books are missing on this one, whoever team it is, we're talking about the Eagles here, 11.5 wins. You think they're going to be 13 or 14 wins, which I think is very realistic. Get them now. It could go up to 12, 12.5. I cannot imagine it would go down from 11.5 to 11. I just don't see that.
I don't see it going down at all. I think it could move up. But that's a high number. Right? Basically to win, the Eagles have to go 12-5 or better. So, and listen, I know that sounds easy coming off the Super Bowl, and they've had a couple of, big win total seasons over the last 4 or 5 years, but let's not underestimate that it's still difficult to do that. And the division's a little tougher. And this is the big and, Adam. Everybody in the NFC East has to really deal with this, even the Giants, but tough schedule because of just the conference and the divisions that they're playing. And then the fact that it's a first place schedule for the Eagles.
The Giants schedule. Wait to hear this one, and boy, and I originally
again.
when the over under totals came out, I was like, wow, only. Well, I don't want to give it away, but the number's kind of low. I'm like, oh, they got to get over this number. Oops! I looked at the schedule. The way it's laid out is very, very difficult. But getting back to the Eagles here, what's interesting is all the really good teams like Baltimore's is 11.5. Buffalo's is 11.5. And as a matter of fact, they're stronger. If you really want Buffalo over in their number, 11.5, we'll do these down probably in June. But they're even a stronger favorite to go over the total. Believe it or not, than the Eagles are. That surprises me. And theirs is, as you said, 11.5 wins. The over's -118. The under is 102. So what that means is if you bet $100, you would have to put up 118 to win 100. If you take the over, and if you take the under, you'd have to put up 102 to win 100. You get your bet back plus 102, plus Well, no, actually plus 100 back, right?
Right.
Because you're giving up the juice of that. So, they clearly the money's on the Eagles to go over the total. I agree with it. Yeah, we know the pockets of the schedule. It's a very odd schedule, bizarre. They don't have back-to-back home games, which is ridiculous. It's the only answer we didn't get on the media call a couple weeks ago. They didn't go over that. They weren't asked that. Mike North and his group, but look, they're built to win. Sure, we know they have 5 new defensive starters, but you got the defensive staff is back. That's big. The offensive line is, other than one guy, Becton is back. The receivers are back. The tight end is back. By the way, that's a big deal. That's a big win for the Eagles to get to work it out with Goddard, for him not to be traded. That's huge. We're pretty bullish in the draft. Obviously, we have to see how these guys play, but this is a well-coached team. I mean, are they going to get 14 wins? It'll be harder. I mean, it's a tough schedule. I still think 2 years ago was harder, but they're not that being young is a bad thing, but they've had so many changes on defense. You just don't know how it's going to come together.
Agreed. And again, the schedule is tough. It is for everybody, and there are pockets that'll be grueling. I think health will be an underrated thing here. If the Eagles stay relatively healthy, I think 11.5 is so doable. But there's also not a lot of money to be made in that, as you just pointed out there, with them being -118 over -102. I think the odds to win the Super Bowl, though, at plus 650 is an opportunity to really make money. Now, it's harder. Yeah. Obviously, winning the Super Bowl is harder than just making the 11.5. But if you already believe the Eagles are going to be better than an 11.5, that means you basically think the Eagles are going to be 12, 13, 14 wins, a top seed, 1 seed, maybe a 2. And so the avenue for them to get to the Super Bowl and win it is pretty, I don't want to say likely, but it would be consistent with that thought process. So plus 650 is a chance to make some money.
And they have, by the way, the shortest odds to win the Super Bowl at plus 650. Now, here's one more for you. On your point, if you think they're going to be like 14 wins, the over 13.5, which means 14 wins, is plus 390. So you bet 100, you get 390 back, plus your $100 back. The under is minus 525. Boy, that's so they clearly think they're going to be around 12 wins. That's where the money is. Huh. Wow, the under is minus 525, under 13.5. I'm saying, yeah. That and boy, if you think they're going to be 16-1, it's plus 1,500. Yeah, that's hard to see. I don't see.
Yeah,
that. Or 17-0, of course.
All right, so that's the Eagles story, and we'll move on to the Commanders next, because for the first time in a while, the Commanders are discussed here as a team that could get to the Super Bowl, could finish with a winning record, right? I mean, how last year I forgot what the over-under on the Commanders. Did you say you knew what it was last year? Was it
6.5 wins? Yeah, 6.5.
Yeah, 6.5 wins, crazy. They've jumped 3 wins now. They are over-under of 9.5 wins. Now, interesting, I'm going to let you discuss this, the difference between their over and their under total there, Adam.
Yeah, so the over at minus 120. So basically, the money's you're going to have to pay a premium, small. Well, I won't call it a premium, but you're going to have to pay if you think they're going to get 10 wins or more, which is to me where I would go. It's 120 to win 100, and then it's plus 100 on the under. So if you think they were a mirage, or they're going to be 9-8 or worse, yeah, it's plus 100. So for me, I'm a novice sometimes with the gambling, and math eludes me.
the fact that they are plus 100 on under 9.5 wins means to me that what Vegas is saying here is they really don't think Washington's going to win fewer than 9.5. So you have a chance to make money if you bet on it. Whereas the Eagles at minus going under 11.5 wins is minus 102. It's not plus. You know what I'm saying? So it almost seems like they're saying they think there's more of a chance of the Eagles winning less than 12 games than the Commanders winning less than 9.
Correct, but they still think, based on the odds, well, just where the money is on the Eagles to go over the total, to go over 11.5, clearly to go over at minus 118. Now, with Washington, they clearly think they're going to be over 9.5 wins. Now, let me give you the rest of Washington's odds.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, we just did. It's funny how they do this. It's really funny because they know where the sweet spot is. So we gave you the over total at 9.5. They don't give one for 10. They do give one at 11. So if you're really super bullish on Washington, boy, you're getting really good odds, plus 300. So if you think they'll win 12 or more, you're getting plus 300. So you bet 100, you get 300 back plus your bet back. So so you're getting 300. You're winning $300.
Right.
The under would be. This is interesting. The under 11.5 wins is minus 375. So they clearly think they're going to be somewhere at 10 or 11 wins. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. That is fascinating. Go look at the I think the Commanders have again, everybody sort of has a tough schedule, but the Commanders after the bye, the week 12 bye, look at all the teams that either made the playoffs last year or you think might be a bounce back team. Denver, they come out of the bye, they play Denver. We'll say Minnesota, playoff team from last year. Giants, not very good, so get a break there. But it is a division game, so that's always a little bit tougher. And then Philadelphia, of course, is going to be difficult. And then Dallas, then Philadelphia. So if you're of the belief that Dallas will be better than last year, you might not think they're great, but better than last year, that's 6 games there where the only team that you're no doubt about it going to be favored over is the Giants.
You're talking about Dallas?
I'm talking about the Commanders. They played Denver after their bye. They played Denver, Minnesota, Giants, Philly, Dallas, Philly. So I'm saying, like, if you assume Dallas is a little bit better, and that's not a layup game, it's a division game, the only game of their last 6 that you would say they'll definitely be favored is the Giants game.
Well, they'll be favored at home against Denver unless Denver cut. I mean, I know Denver's a playoff team.
They could, but I guess what I'm saying is Denver made the playoffs last year. They could be better. I mean, we don't know, but yes, if we did it now, the Commanders would be favored. But by then, they might not be. Who knows? You know?
Oh, I see what you mean. When it's clear, they'll be favored at Washington for sure.
Yeah.
I can see that. One pocket. This is hard for them because I look at this stuff. This stuff means a lot. So they have a run weeks 4 through 8. 4 out of those 5 games in that pocket are away. Week 4 at Atlanta, at the Chargers, home against the Bears, which may not be easy considering the additions of Ben Johnson. At Dallas, week 7, and at the Chiefs, week 8. So that's a tough pocket. Whereas they started home, first 2 out of 3 are at home versus the Giants, easy win should be at the Packers and versus the Raiders. So they should start off well, but man, that's a tough pocket. And then they have a really odd pocket they have their last 5, 3 out of their final 5 are away. Weeks 14 and 15 at Minnesota, at Giants, weeks 16 and 17 versus Eagles versus Dallas, then at Philly. So that's an interesting schedule. Some tough pockets, but I'm going to bet on the coaching, which is phenomenal. Dan Quinn's put together a good staff, and he's a very good coach. He's been in the Super Bowl before. Bad choke against the Patriots, but bottom line, this guy's a good coach, and they've had a good offseason. They addressed their problems in the offensive line in terms of talent. And now I know some fans think that Daniels could have a sophomore slump. Certainly possible. I don't know how he could play much better, but I could see that. But man, 10 wins, I think it's very possible.
Agreed. And of course, to win the Super Bowl now, another good chance. If you are the type of person who thinks Washington's really on the upward trajectory and Jaden Daniels is going to be the next greatest thing ever, plus 2,000 to win the Super Bowl, the same as the Niners, the Rams, and the Bengals. I know, that's crazy. The Bengals.
I don't see that. Where are they coming up with that? Yeah, I when I found that, I was like, because I was always like to see comparatively who. Okay, they're plus 2,000. Okay, Niners, they're still picked to win the division. Rams, okay, it's very tight between the Rams and Niners for that division by the odds. The Bengals, with their problems on defense,
Yeah,
they must think Al Golden, the former Temple head coach and Miami head coach, is going to do wonders for a defense at a time was not competitive last season. We'll see.
yeah. And a Penn Stater too, Al Golden. Let's not forget that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, Al Golden. All right. So you like what do you make of those odds though? I mean, that's worth.
I would go over. I don't
down.
love it. I would say I like the Eagles odds better to go over the 11.5 based on the staff, everything. Everybody knows the Eagles schedule. We don't even need to go over it. The quirkiness of no back-to-back home games, but you know what? The Eagles have shown they're top 3 since Sirianni came in here. They're a top 3 road team. At one point, they were the best. I know that last look they were top 3. It doesn't matter. They win everywhere. As you said earlier, unless they suffer catastrophic injury,
mm-hmm.
they're going to be right there, man. Not only to win the division, we'll do the divisional odds in the next show, but to have another run, man. Nick got his contract. Good for him. Everybody knew it was coming. Is the division better than it has been? Yes, it certainly is. And we'll get to Dallas in a couple of minutes. Who the hell knows if Brian Schottenheimer? This guy's not been a head coach before.
100%. All right, we will get to Dallas in a second. First, you got to hear a word from our great friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schiller, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
That's right. If you stop into Sky Motor Cars, make sure you tell them Adam and Jeff sent you. You will get a great deal. They're right there in Westchester, PA. A great staff, spearheaded, of course, by Brett Schiller. He is the man. He does a lot of deals with Eagles, and as we tell you all the time on this podcast, there's no greater car shopping experience, whether you're buying, selling, trading in, browsing, whatever it is. You're looking for a car in some form or fashion or capacity, Sky Motor Cars is the place to do it. And check out their website, skymotorcars.com. All right, time to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, Adam. You just referenced them. I agree. They're probably, would you say they're the biggest wild card in the division? Not only because you don't know about the new coaching staff, but obviously when Dak's healthy, they have a very good regular season record. When Dak is healthy, they're a pretty good team. He comes back healthy. They've added, would you be totally stunned out of your mind if somehow the Dallas Cowboys won the NFC East?
I'd be very stunned. No, I'm rarely stunned, but surprised, yes.
Yeah.
All right.
That's why I'd be mildly surprised. Yeah.
I would be more than mildly surprised. I'd be very surprised. Not shocked, but very surprised. Here's why.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Pickens. Is he going to be on his best behavior? But well documented, his immaturity and the way he would act out and latenesses and all sorts of issues, right? Tyler Guyton struggled mightily last season at left tackle. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a problem. That's a really significant problem. Jadon Blue, pretty excited about him being a Cowboy. Like him in Dynasty Leagues for fantasy, by the way, a big time. He's explosive, but you got Sanders and Williams. Can they figure it out to get the running game going, which was a disappointment last season? Okay, then they got all sorts of problems at linebacker. And they're going to run a 43 under Eberflus, right? Tampa, a lot of Tampa too, and so forth. Overshown coming off of a multi-ligament injury. He won't be ready for the start of regular season. Kenneth Murray's been such a disappointment. All the Titans could get is a 7th-round pick for him. Does that tell you everything you need to know for Kenneth Murray? That's how bad he's fallen off. Okay?
Yep.
Mozzie Smith has not been good, man. He's been a major disappointment in his first 2 years at D tackle. Cornerback-wise, Trevon Diggs coming off a major injury. He had a cleanup surgery. Right now, they don't think he'll be ready for the season. Ravel, their 3rd-round corner out of East Carolina, he's coming back from ACL reconstruction. Bland is a nice player, gives up plays, makes plays. They got problems, man. They got problems on defense. I know Eberflus is a pretty good defensive coach, but they got problems. That's why I'd be very surprised if they won the division. Now, if Schottenheimer's as aggressive as I think he's going to be, because he's the one who came up with let Russ cook till Pete Carroll micromanaged him. Sure, but I don't know defensively. I just don't see the talent.
I agree with you on that, but they've won the division a couple times in the last 5 or 6 years, and I feel like we've constantly been talking about either health issues or inability to stop the run. I mean, they've had that since the Truman administration, but they figured out a way. I just think when Dak is healthy, they are a much better team in the regular season. And then again, no team has won this division, as you know. We talk about it all the time in 20 straight years. So that if you want to go by that and take the Eagles out of it because of that, then you're basically saying, well, it's the only other team could be Washington. No, I mean, you got to give Dallas a little bit of a little leeway there on a bounce back kind of year. They do have talent. That's the thing. Like, you're right. They have questions, but they've got some blue chip talent in some important areas.
All right. Now they're over 7.5 wins is -145. So clearly the odds makers think they're going to go over. That's where the money is. The under's +120. I definitely like over. Now, quickly here, after they lose at the Eagles week 1, they host the hapless Giants. They're at Chicago. I'm looking at they have I would say somewhat of a favorable schedule. Honestly, they do have a pocket 3 out of 4 games away before their bye. Week 5 at Jets, at the Panthers, home against the Commandos, and at Denver. Well, it's not a hard 3 out of 4, but it is 3 out of 4 for a new coaching staff. Their byes in week 10. They listen to this pocket.
Yeah, okay? they better listen. I know what you're about to say. They better be like 6-3 going into the bye.
Yeah. All right. Week 12, 2 games after their bye, they host the Eagles. Then week 13, they're at Kansas City. Week 14 at Detroit. Week 14. Now that's they're 3 out of 4 away technically out of the bye. They're at the Raiders. Okay, they should win that. Home against the Eagles. Then at Kansas City, then at the Lions. Good luck.
Yep.
And then they host the Vikings. And the Vikings, we just don't know. J.J. McCarthy. Other than that, offensively, they're terrific. Offensive line, they'll get their left tackle back. Week 16, they host the Chargers. The Chargers came out of nowhere last year and were very good. They should even be better. Then they're at Washington and host the Giants. Yeah, I like them around 9 wins. Now, to expand this, if you like the over, you're -145, over 7.5. They don't give 8.5 because that's where the sweet spot is. Over 9.5. If you think they're 10 wins or more, you're getting money. It's +200. So you'd bet 100, you get 200 back, plus you get 200 for your win, plus your $100 back. So that's what the plus is. You're +200. The under is -250. Yeah, which is honestly, I don't see. I see. It's funny. I see them around 9 wins. That's where I'd put them, 9-8.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Their odds to win the Super Bowl +5,500. Now you heard me say with the Eagles in Washington, hey, what's if you just want to believe, right? And for the Eagles, that's easy. Washington a little bit harder. You just take $20 and you throw it down because of the way to quadruple your money with odds like that. Don't do that for Dallas. You're just wasting your money. They're not going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I don't care how enticing. Yeah, the +55. No, you're just throwing your money away in that situation. You're not tripling or quadrupling anything.
Yeah, they're just now if we have time in a couple weeks, maybe we'll do conference odds and some other interesting odds, and then we're going to do fantasy props. I can't wait for that one. My big one. And I wish I would have played it. Like I just gave him out on Sports Grid. My number 1 was Barkley over 1,002 yards. And and the odds makers, because of Barkley's injury history, is significant. But how could it not be like 1,250, 1,300? Now it would move closer to the season. It'd open up at 1,002, and then it would move a couple hundred more yards. But now's the time to do them, because if you really follow fantasy, I know a lot of people listening do, you're going to have. Those are hard. I don't know how they come up with that stuff. I mean, obviously you take averages and so forth, but they totally missed on the Eagles' offensive line, which is one of the best in NFL history.
Agreed. All right, we'll finish it off here with the New York Football Giants. Their win total, Adam, 5.5 wins. This team just can't get out of its own way. I mean, their quarterback problem has been so bad for so long that, ever since they made the playoffs a couple of years ago, there's just not been a whole lot of optimism from a Vegas standpoint.
I got to be honest with you. If you thought that the Steelers, Arthur Smith wanted to bench Russ, he couldn't. He wasn't allowed to. So I cannot wait to see Brian Daboll. Oh. And with Brian Daboll's got a quick trigger, and his temper. Oh man, I just if Russ starts holding on to football like he does, he's done that for a lot of his career.
Mm-hmm.
And with this offensive line, which is not great, that could be a problem. So and by the way, they're on Hard Knocks again when the NFC East won. Boy, I see. I'm very curious what gets on there. That'll be very interesting. So we'll keep an eye on that. So they're over under. They're plus 120, over 5.5 wins. By the way, as I said before, I look at their schedule. I thought 5.5 wins. How could they not do it? Well, this schedule and the under, by the way, is minus 145. Now, they're not even giving 6.5 wins out, which is comical. The next one is 7.5. Now, listen to this start of the season. This has to be, it's clearly by far the hardest start for any NFC East team. Listen to the first four. At Washington, at Dallas, home against the Chiefs, home against the Chargers.
Brutal.
Oh, by the way, okay, at the Saints, winnable game. Listen to these next three. Home against the Eagles, at Denver, and at Philly. Mm-hmm. Home against the Niners. At Chicago, home against the Packers, at Detroit. Good luck.
Yeah. So their bye week is week 14, right? I don't know if they're going to have 3 wins by their bye week. I'm trying to find the 3. Saints, Bears, maybe Patriots. I don't know. They could lose those games. Any one of them.
Change my mind. I'm going under. I mean, holy smokes. And, okay, you mentioned the bye, week 14. If they're still standing by then. Week 15, good luck. Home against the Commandos. Home against Washington, Minnesota. At the Raiders and home against Dallas. On paper, 3 to 5 wins. I still see 6.
Man, if they win 6, that's like winning a Super Bowl for them. This is just a crazy schedule. I mean, they're a last place team. I don't. And even the last place game, or I think it's the Patriots, right? So that's their last place opponent from the extra AFC game you're playing. Now that they have a 17-game schedule, that game may not be easy for them. The Patriots may have a better quarterback at this stage of the game, Drake May. So, yikes.
Just yikes. Not good, man. That is a man. Giant fans, poor Giant fans. I don't, man. Wow.
Yep. Because
you always, like, if you're a fan, you're always, okay, where do we have good, easy wins? Relatively easy, or ones that are favorable. Okay, at the Saints, week 5. We don't know about the Bears. On paper, could be over 500, 8 or 9 wins. That's certainly on paper. You mentioned week 13. The Bears is at Chicago, week 10. Minnesota, if McCarthy's average, they're probably going to have a winning record. Okay, Raiders. By the way, the Raiders have shorter odds to win the Super Bowl than the Giants do. The Giants are plus 25,000.
Wow. Now, if you're a sick individual, you take $20 and lay it on there, but only if you're not sane and you just like giving $20 away, because there's no lucky bounce of the football that is landing the Giants a Super Bowl Lombardi trophy. Okay. It's just not happening. I don't care if they have 4 players who play at all pro level that you weren't expecting winning the Super Bowl. So it's not happening. So save your money. Don't get enticed by the cool odds. Don't con yourself into thinking, hey, if I only put like $10 down, I could win $500,000. No, it's not happening.
They shocked the world in 22 to make the playoffs, right? They are plus 750 to make the playoffs. To not make the playoffs for minus 1,200. Obviously, the odds are that one. If you want to bet, $10.
Maybe, yeah. That one's more little playoffs. Sure,
it's
Super Bowl, you're just a sick human being. or you just like wasting money if you try to take those odds for the Super Bowl.
By the way, the
All right.
Eagles to make the playoffs real quick. The Eagles are
Mhm.
minus 450 to make the playoffs, which they got to make it.
I would think so. Absolutely. Well, in fact, was there money to be made for missing the play? What are they if they miss?
Yeah,
the playoffs?
plus 340 if they don't make it. Yeah, well, being that the going back over 20 years, no one's won the division back to back. Yeah.
Right. That's where the smart sick money is to bet against the Eagles making the playoffs, where you put 20, $30 on, you feel terrible about it, but you made money. So it didn't hurt you. That's bad. All right, good stuff, Adam. I like doing that. We'll continue to do this throughout the week. That's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds. Be sure to check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHLSportsNation.